Okay. So it was 1999. I was about 4 years old, and I was at daycare. And I remember my mom coming super early to come pick me up. And I'm 4 years old at the time, so I don't know how to tell time very well, but I'm pretty sure she was way too early. And I was actually kind of mad at her for this because she was taking me away from my friends, and at that age, everybody's your friend. And so I thought to myself, well, when I get in that car, I'm not talking to her forever, you know, I'm mad at her. But I'm a child, so I didn't question why she was there. She just took me and we got in the car, and we started to drive home. And I made good on my promise all the way home, pretty much all the way home. It was silent. And I thought in my head, like, oh, I'm winning this argument that I've created. But that actually wasn't the case. So we're coming around the corner, getting closer to my house, and we live out in the country, so there's a whole bunch of trees. You can't even see my house from a few yards away. And I see this big black pillar coming up out of the ground, just rising into the sky from the trees, and I couldn't tell where it was coming from. It kind of looked like it was something I'd seen in like a nightmare or a dream somewhere, something that was going to eat me. And I look over at my mom and I realized she wasn't being quiet, you know, because she was mad at me, but she was actually crying. And I got a little worried because my mom is a strong woman. Air Force, military brat, one of 8 kids. You know, takes a spoon to me if I don't behave. Thank God I'm an angel. But she was crying, and it kind of freaked me out a little bit because this strong woman looked like she was made of glass at that point. Like if I touched her or said anything, she'd shatter. And we got up closer to my house, right down the road, and she touched my arm and she goes, "Now baby, I don't know what's going to happen when we get home, okay?" And I started to get scared because my mom was scared, I could tell. So we get onto my road, and we get as close to my house as we could get. And I see ambulance, I see the EMS, the fire department, I see news crews, I see police officers, and they're all blocking my driveway. We can't get near my house. And I still can't see my house because of the trees. So we pull over on the road, my mom takes me out of the back seat, and we walk hand in hand to where my dad is standing. He's standing next to a giant red fire truck, which are actually pretty scary when you know they're not supposed to be there. And he's looking out at our house. I still can't see what's going on, but that big pillar has grown so big. It's covered the sky. It kind of feels like it went from day to night at that point. And he's tearing up too. And my dad, to me, is the definition of strength. He also is Air Force, and he's a mechanic, and you know, he's daddy. He's fur. But he was tearing up. And that's when I got really scared. I didn't know what was going on. Again, I'm a child, I'm 4. I can barely comprehend what's going on. So I walk up to my dad, and he pulls my mom and me into a hug. I get squished in between them, and I look out at our house, which I can now clearly see. It's in ruins. There's nothing left of it. There's maybe 2 or 3 metal beams sticking up out of a concrete foundation, and then just 2 or 3 feet worth of pile of just debris underneath these giant flames. Firemen are running around trying to put out the flames before it catches anybody else's house on fire, before it burns down the rest of the wooded area we had there, but it had already taken my house and pretty much my life. And at that moment, I realized that the only thing we had was what we were wearing. After they put out the fire, about 2 or 3 hours later, when they said it was okay for us to go in and see if anything had survived, we went in and we looked in the ashes, in the rubble. And my bedroom was completely gone. The only thing that we found of that was a little white teddy bear. It was kind of singed around its edges, and wasn't even my favorite bear. But at that point, it was the only thing that I had besides my little dress. And a few of the collected items my mom had got from the Air Force, like things from her travels to Panama, to Europe, to France, to Germany, had all melted into like this massive pile in their closet. Nothing was salvageable. A few photos of me when I was a baby. I think it's all we got out of that. So at that point, we had nothing. We didn't have food, a place to stay, clothing besides what we were wearing, and we were pretty down on luck. My parents they were losing it. So we ended up staying with my neighbors for a few months, and I thought to myself, well, I need to be brave. I need to be an adult now. I need to take care of my parents because they spent their entire lives taking care of me, or they spent most of my life taking care of me. Only 4 years, but so I decided I was going to smile every day and be respectful and not ask for anything because I felt like I didn't have the right to ask for anything from them or want anything or just be grateful with what I had. And I wore clothes that were like 2 sizes too big for me, and I smiled every day, and I never cried about it, so I could be strong for my parents. We ended up moving back into a house that we had on our property. We had gotten a new house, and that's when I started to be a child again and play again and smile again. For real, smile again. Wear clothes that actually fit me and play with toys that, weren't hand-me-down from the Red Cross, but I got myself being kind of greedy every once in a while. But after that, I realized that maybe growing up didn't mean you had to grow up all at once. That you grow up little by little, and that being an adult doesn't mean you have to be an adult all the time. Just when the situation calls for it, you can be.